Hey everybody, welcome back to the Overwatch Project. It's December 7th, 2024, 2 p.m., a little 2:12 right now. Hey, how you all doing? Today's going to be a video about mysteries of the realm here and a little bit of sharing of information. I wanted to do a video where I'm going to talk about some of the current events that we have all been drawn our attention to, like the United Healthcare guy being taken out in New York City. And I wanted to point out some of the really massive, obvious cognitive dissonance that people have when it comes to analyzing the world we perceive all around us. But first, I wanted to share some of these other resources. So, like what I do here is I start, think about it. The correct thing to say is I'm an intel analyst for the afterlife, right? So I take all the information in its totality, try to analyze it without any cognitive dissonance, and then put out, what I think is going on. And that's basically sort of like a hypothesis or a theory based on my perspective on the information. And I try to keep my cognitive dissonance at bay so I don't use anything to justify any beliefs. Just try to come to the conclusions that make sense based on the information if you're just looking at it like as a complete outsider. And there aren't too many people I've come across that seem to do that or that offer a perspective about the same information that I've put out there but have a completely different take on it. So I'm going to share with you some sources. These are what I've been looking at. So if you ever wonder, what I'm researching now, what I'm doing, what information I'm looking at now, I'm going to show you what I've been looking at for the last couple of weeks. First of all, I found that this new channel here, well, it's like a year old, Mike Martin. He's been interviewed by the Typical Skeptic podcast a few times. And if you go to his podcast, which I'll link to these channels below, and you put in Mike Martin, you'll see his interviews come up here, the first two. And in this guy's channel, he actually has 3 books that he published on Amazon, but you can actually listen to the audios for free because he has read the books for free on his YouTube channel, which is to me a sign that he's really genuine about what he's doing. As I've been here with you all, I think you understand that I'm giving away the information, and so is he. So if you do want to support him or you think what his videos make sense to you, you can buy his books on Amazon. I did buy 2 of them so I could read them, and then I listened to the audios on his YouTube channel. His thing that he is an out-of-body experiencer, but unlike Robert Monroe did kind of let himself down and let his audience down a little bit by trying to take the Lucia account and just justify it. He literally used a massive amount of cognitive filtering to try to make that data that he didn't like go away. On the other hand, Mike Martin here has similar experiences, but he has basically just taken the information for what it appears to be. The one thing that he has come to a conclusion of that's totally different than me is the nature of our subconscious mind. So in my theory, the way I see it is our consciousness is kind of divided. It's we are neither male or female. Our consciousness is just pure being, an individual universe unto itself. And we are highly powerful, creative beings with imagination. And in the astral planes, our imagination can manifest into instantaneous realities We can travel anywhere by mere thought, communicate with telepathy. We have basically godlike powers once we are uncoupled from the material world here. But in the current state of our consciousness, we're really screwed up. It's processed through this pathetic processor we call the brain. It has severe limitations. And in what I thought was, the way I look at it, is the consciousness is divided in several ways here. One, it's divided into a masculine, feminine identity and gender biology of male, female, and then it is also divided itself into what I think is a consciousness and a subconscious. And the subconscious doesn't really work in a way that benefits us. It's kind of like it's part of the way I saw it is a part of us that is kind of asleep and is programmable and contains a bunch of junk programming that's designed to sabotage us. And my idea is that it's us split, and that's the way I see it. On the other hand, Mike Martin here, he sees a lot of these things like the mental body, the subconscious mind, and all these other things as not us. That these are attached to us, and that the only thing we are is actually our conscious selves. And we are being sabotaged by these add-ons, these mental or consciousness add-ons, sort of like viruses in a computer program designed to manipulate and control us and screw us up. If you are interested, of course, I will link to the channels below, so you'll have access to all these channels. Rob from the Typical Skeptic podcast has not only interviewed Mike Martin, but the next person I'm going to talk about, which is this Tony Sayers guy. Again, found him on Typical Skeptic podcast, somebody that Rob interviewed. Some of the stuff he said resonated with me. However, there's a difference between Tony and Mike. It's a big difference. Now, a lot of the things he says in these interviews when he's analyzing these New Agers, and he analyzes, both Mike Martin and Tony Sayers are of the similar conclusion that, to me, that this whole thing that we are all one is a bunch of garbage. We're not all one. I am a single being with pure individuality, but I can network, I can connect to others, I can interact with others, and but as far as like going back to source or merging with the one, and to me that's all trap. To me it's all bullshit, and apparently to this Tony Sayers guy as well as Mike Martin, they both also think that it's all garbage. Philosophy. So a lot of his videos do make sense. However, his website is this Transcending Times. I should add that to the links so you can check it out for yourself when you go there to the description section below. He does charge a lot of money for some of this stuff. And I'm not saying that's, wrong, but I don't know if any of this stuff actually works. I don't know about chakra removals, and I don't know. I haven't read any of his books. I've only listened to some of his YouTube videos, his interviews, and his take on some of these New Agers. So I wanted to make you aware of that. The other thing was we seem to be getting a lot of this stuff now where people have predicted things, and then of course they're also trying to peddle their version of how they're able to predict things. One of the religiotards out there doing it is this Last Days guy. What's his name? Brandon Biggs. He supposedly predicted the Trump ear injury like 3 or 4 months before it happened. And when you listen to him, and there is a record of him doing this 3 to 4 months, I think, before it happened, it does sound awfully accurate. But of course, if you have religious programming, Christian tardism or whatever version, your program with, you will then attribute that psychic event to whatever religion. See, otherwise, under their religion, you're satanic, right? So if you're not getting it from the Lord, then you're satanic. So the whole thing with this is that you got this other guy now, Cliff High, who's made these UFO predictions. Apparently, something about 2009 predicting Joe Rogan interviews Trump, blah blah blah. And again, I don't know exactly what the motivation is with all this stuff. I'll let you all do some of your own investigation. I don't have any conclusions. I just think this stuff is odd that it's happening now. And you can check this stuff out for yourself. I will provide you with the source material and you can do it. The other thing is that in the last week or so, not the last week, whenever it happened, was it 3 days ago, the CEO of United Healthcare, this, what's his name, Brian Thompson, he was apparently assassinated in New York City by a guy using a suppressor. Everybody's seen the videos. So I've created a playlist that I opened up to everybody to look at, and that's Mysteries of the Realm 2. I just made it public today, and I'm going to link it, so it'll be linked in the description below. It'll be this link here, and you can go check out a lot of these videos for yourself. I wanted to point out a lot of these videos are highly annoying to me because people use a lot of cognitive dissonance when they look at what other people do. And there's no, they filter everything. So if you're unpoliticized like me, you don't look at things in red and blue. You just look at what is happening. And if you're not governmentally retarded or government-tarded, and you understand natural law and natural rights, and if you go to my website, overwatchproject.com, which will also be linked below, there is a section called Freedom where you can kind of get a sense, do some research, because nobody gets taught natural law, natural rights. Our Bill of Rights kind of goes over it in a sort of like a way that is kind of proper. And then the rest of the Constitution is a giant document of cognitive dissonance, as one part, the Bill of Rights, which is a separate document, tells you human rights and individuality, and then the rest of the document tells you how we're just kind of going to ignore that and create this thing called governmentardism to have this authority over all the individuals. And this is where the confusion begins with this stuff, like with this case. People, like this guy, vigilante justice, was it murder? I suppose you, okay, so one of the things I want to point out real quick is in New York PD, I'll put this I'll add this to the list below so you can see this too. This is the NYPD, one of their live crime statistical maps. I presume that this week-to-date murder here that the most current, recent, at the time that I'm recording this number one here is the United Healthcare CEO guy. And if you go across this chart, you will then see that this year alone, year to date in 2024, there have been 347 murders in New York City. This is based on the NYPD data. So what's interesting is that, do you know any of the other three, unless you live there, unless you are, live in New York City or know somebody that's one of these victims? Do you know the other 346 people? Well, we have had our attention taken and focused like a laser beam on this one guy. Why? Because he makes $10 million a year, or because he was obviously I think it's because of the way the Netflix movie style way this guy was taken out is why this is such a big deal and such fodder for the media. But they also want to make sure that they reinforce this thing that no one can authorize themselves to do something like this. If you watch any of these TV shows or movies that sort of have this gritty realism to them and show you like some kind of government or military those action movies like Sicario with Emily Blunt, really good movie. But it's also a really great movie to look at if you're mentally have been freed from governmentardism. And then you can watch the Apex Mafia, which is the governmentards, and how they do things. And if you strip away all the symbolism, their leather chairs and their suits and their ID tags and their seals that are hanging on the wall behind them, if you just look at what the humans are doing in the story and you compare that to behavior to, say, the so-called bad guys, you'll see that it's all the same. There's no difference, just that one has an illusion of and these ritualistic procedures that supposedly separate them from the other bad guys. In a movie, Paramount Plus has a TV show called Lioness. Season 1 wasn't that great, but season 2 is much better. And it has this helicopter pilot that they want to recruit for a mission. This is all a CIA type scenario. And they just casually, and you can see this happening in real life, casually mention the CIA people want to use her as some kind of undercover operation. And they want to know if she has any experience, which means does she know how to, properly kill people? And the other governmentard in the room casually mentions that, if they ask basically, has she ever killed anybody? And the other guy in the room says 822. And there's no there's almost like, 822. And because it was all done from a helicopter using massive weaponry, the CIA people weren't really impressed because, she needs to be trained on how to kill a person in a room hand to hand or whatever. Basically, an assassination, similar to what we saw in New York. And so they and really, there's a lot of videos for you to check out how people have analyzed this thing. Some of it's hilariously bizarre how people process this information. If you're looking at it from like my point of view. But the thing with James Bond, for example, he has a license to kill, right? James Bond has a license to kill. And why does he have a license? Well, because the governmentards have approved it. It's authorized. So it's not murder. What they're trying to tell you is that allegedly the CEO of the... now, I have some personal experience having, as you well know, I went through a big heart dilemma and I don't have United Healthcare. My insurance company paid for mostly everything, luckily. But there were a couple things I still had to haggle over, things I shouldn't have had to deal with. They caused me a lot of unnecessary, tension with these insurance companies. But I had to straighten some stuff out. For example, the hospital apparently filed some piece of paper late one day, 24 hours, or it was probably electronic or whatever. It was filed 24 hours late. And the insurance company wanted to deny a claim because this certain thing was filed late by the hospital. And they're coming after me for the money. And I'm like, how do I have control over some hospital technician or accountant or whatever filing something late. I don't have any control over that. I can't fix that. Eventually, it was taken care of. But I had to go back and forth for weeks over the phone to straighten this stuff out. From what has been reported, and you'll see in these videos in my playlist here, this company, United Healthcare, was at the bottom of the barrel from what people are reporting. They were, so what they're doing isn't considered murder. It's not considered homicide, even though clearly, if what these reports are saying are true, what's the difference? But again, if some clandestine government-tied agency deems somebody an enemy of the state and they authorize that person to be killed in whatever manner, drone strike, an assassin, whatever, that gets processed as an action of the state. The authorities have deemed it necessary, and therefore it's not murder. However, they really don't want anybody using individuality. So what if this is even true, what we're getting from these news accounts? Let's just, because we don't know. There's a lot of information we still don't know. But a lot of these news reporters are so freaking annoying. Like, I could tell, and you could just ask somebody who knows firearms. I could tell there's something weird, it turns out I was right. There was something odd with the weapon used. It didn't look like a typical suppressed pistol, and it probably wasn't. I think it was this BNT9 they're talking about, which has to be manually cycled after each round is fired. And the reason it's a great gun to use for something like that is because that's what it was designed for in World War II. And there's a modern version of it available today, and it is extra quiet because there's no slide action. There's nothing. You have to manually do that ejection thing. So the cognitive dissonance people use to process this information is absolutely mind-blowing if you think about it, right? So nobody cares about the 346 other people. The news doesn't give a crap. They haven't reported it, right? And that's just in New York City. That's just in one place in America. Think of all the people in the world that have, for one reason or another, been taken out. Think about it. Are any of their lives less important? According to human standards, no, absolutely not. I mean, we're all human and we all have natural rights. We are all incarnated currently as humans, and we all have these natural rights. Most places in the world totally violate natural law and natural rights, but we've agreed to incarnate here, and therefore we are subject to this system here because people believe that it's somehow makes sense. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. So that's what I wanted to say. Check out my overwatchproject.com. And if you like this video, or you found it informative, educational, or even just entertaining, give it a thumbs up, please. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I don't even know what my current subscriber count is, but I know that I grew to a certain point and then everything kind of stopped. And I think it's because, critical thinking is not something that's promoted. So check out all these links, and you can do your own investigation, and you can make up your own mind and think about what I said. And as far as Mike Martin goes, I don't know if the subconscious is some type of saboteur that's external to us. To me, it makes more sense that it's part of us that's used against us. That it's sort of like split off from, everything's processed through the human brain. And our consciousness is, to to me, it makes more sense that our consciousness is partially used against us once we incarnate as humans. And that all these different parts, the mental body, the astral body, and all this stuff, is all actually us divided against ourselves. That's the way I see it. Mike Martin seems to think that it's all separate parts and that they are not actually us, if I understand him correctly. But he is a very interesting fellow, and if you're interested in listening to his work, check it out. So I'm going to link to all this, as you know, below, and then you can do your own investigation, come up to your own conclusions, and use your own critical thinking. Just remember to keep that cognitive dissonance and all the other cognitive filters that your subconscious uses against you, and that all the pre-programming from everything you grew up with and has been fed into your mind by schools, by religion, by non-religion, by all these different sources, and they all try to manipulate the way you perceive things and your perspective on reality. And so hopefully this is another interesting video. Maybe I'll start a series, Mysteries of the Realm, and we'll explore different mysteries as they come up, or different things. Like this playlist here, I'll probably top it off at 100 videos, and then I'll start a new one. But most of them ended up becoming this really weird case from New York. And if you, I don't know, these videos, a lot of them are interesting, and, mysteries of the realm. What is really going on here, and what is just a distraction for us, from examining the true nature of this reality. So, all right, everybody, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good day, good night, whenever you have to be watching this. Take it easy. Bye.